Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. Well, today we're going to create a couple of projects for a blog hop celebrating a brand new release over at the C&CT Stamp Shop. The release is called Happy and Joyful, and we're going to create a couple of projects with these 3 new items. There's lots more to this release, and if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link for the blog hop down below in the description area. It's always nice to start at the beginning, so I'll link the Simon blog also. And if you missed day 1 over on my blog, I'll list that that link as well. But blog hops are super fun because there's the giveaway to go with it. You can't go wrong with a giveaway. And there's lots of inspirational projects too. So let's jump in and create some cards. I'm going to be using 3 brand new items. This is a background stamp. It's called Flower Frenzy. I love the bold flowers in here. I'm also going to be using this 4-piece stencil set. This is a layering stencil set, and it's 4 pieces. And I like it because you can add 4 different colors, so you can make a really bright and festive background. I was playing with it. You can see the ink on here, but I love this stencil and the way it turns out. I'm not sure of the name of it, but I'll link it down below in the description area if you guys want to check out the stencil. There's 4 pieces to that. And then for my sentiment for one of my projects, I'm using this lovely, there's only 6 sentiments in here, and it's a 6x8 stamp sets, but this is called the Extra Large Stacked Greetings, and you're not kidding. These are pretty large sentiments, so they are great focal points for your card. They're actually almost 4 inches long by 1 3/4 inches wide, so you get 6 of those, and there are varieties. There's thank yous, birthdays, miss yous, just becauses. So these are really fun, bold sentiments we'll be using on one of our cards. My cards today are pretty simple, but I love the way they turned out. So first of all, we're going to use the stencil set. Like I said, I mentioned that I was playing with it already, so there is pixie spray behind here already. We're going to grab some white cardstock. Okay, I grabbed some colors. We're going to use Distress Oxide inks, and I wanted to go for some bright summery colors. So I've picked raspberry, mowed lawn, ripe persimmon, and salvage patina. So those are the colors we're going to use for our backgrounds. I'm going to take my first layer, which has florals on it. You can see here. There's 2 actually that has florals. This one actually has dots. So I'm going to take my floral piece, and since this is a 6x6 piece of cardstock, I can just line it up corner to corner. My first layer, we are going to add pink. So we're going to add our picked raspberry, and I'm just going to use my blending brushes for this. So we are going to grab our pink here and go over our stencil with picked raspberry. Super easy to create fun backgrounds with stencils. I just love this. It's like creating your own pattern paper. And you can do this. This would be pretty too for fall with some fall colors. Or some soft colors for spring. Okay, so first layer is done. And again, this is picked raspberry. So I'm going to take a towel and go over my stencil. Okay. Let's go ahead and remove our first layer. That's cute on its own. Of course, you could use all of these on their own. But when you can layer, why not add layers? So I'm going to add my second layer. This one's, again, the layer with the polka dots. I'm going to add that to the corner to corner. For my next color, we're going to go with ripe persimmon. I wanted some bright summery colors. Okay, layer 2 is nice and filled in. And again, this is with ripe persimmon. I'm going to go ahead and use my towel and clean off my stencil. Layer number 2. That's pretty on its own also. But we are going to go in with layer number 3. I'm going to find where Simon's name is indexed down here. We're going to line it up corner to corner. This is going to add the dots to our flower centers. I'm going to use salvage patina for this. Wanted some blues in here. Okay, third layer. Looks good. We'll just remove that. And I'm loving the bright colors that we have here. Okay, last layer. It has some really pretty leaves that would be real pretty on their own. I'm using Mowed Lawn for this last stencil. And we're just going to go over our green leaves. The nice thing about creating a 6x6 background panel is you have extras, leftovers. Okay, so we have our last layer over our panel. Let's open it up. Such fun, bright colors. I'm excited about that. So that's our background. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Nice, fun back. I'm going to go ahead and clean my surface. Okay, we are going to take our paper trimmer and we're going to trim this down to a card front panel. I'm going to take a little bit off the right side because I would like to have leftover of my pattern paper we created. Card front panels are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. So this is the leftover piece, which is nice. You can use that for another card. And then I will trim this off. Flip it around and go to 5 1/2 inches. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this and put this on an A2 size card base. To our card front. Just love that. And again, we can use this for another card project. That's the best thing about having extra. Now, we're not going to do much more because this is a pretty busy background. So we're going to bring in some cardstock. And I'm going to bring in my stamping positioner. And we're going to stamp our sentiment. I'd like to tack this down on the inside of my Misty. For my sentiment, we're going to be using the extra large stacked greetings. I wanted to create a birthday card, so we're going to use the one that says happy birthday to one of my favorite people, you rock. And I'm going to put it up here in the corner. I'm going to do a little heat embossing, so I'm going to treat my paper with some anti-static powder. And I'm going to stamp my sentiment with Versamark ink. And then we are going to add this over the top. If you wanted to use clear, you could. But I think white's sometimes brighter. I'm going to use my heat gun and we'll melt this. After our sentiment is nice and melted, we are going to go in with some same ink colors. I'm going to use my Mowed Lawn. No, maybe, no. How about let's use these 3 inks. We're going to use these 3 inks for our background. Do a little ink blending. I'm going to start with my Ripe Persimmon. And I'm just going to add a little bit of ink to the top. Salvage patina is one of those inks. The blues kind of don't go with, where's my blending tool? Here we go. With the orange. So I'm going to be careful when I blend these two together. And then I'm going to go in with my picked raspberry on the bottom. Kind of got a smudge there. That's the best thing about the oxide inks, is they can overlap. Okay, I'm going to add a little orange to the corner. And then I'm going to add a little pink to this top corner, just for something a little bit different. Okay, after we have our ink blending done, we'll put these aside. And then I'm going to take my towel and I'm going to go over it. I want to buff away that ink from my white embossing that we had just did. Here we go. And while I'm at it, I'm going to adhere my sentiment to a piece of vellum. I want about 1/4 of an inch showing. Let's take that back. Let's add a little bit more. I want about 1/2 of an inch showing, I want to mat my sentiment on some vellum. So I tape that down, and then we'll put this through our paper trimmer. And then we are good to go with this one. After we have this done, I'm going to flip this around. We're going to add some foam tape behind here. I'm going to remove the release paper, and then we can add this to the center of our card base. And this card is done. We don't have to do much because I think there's a lot going on. But I love the bright colors in here. So that finishes project number 1. For my next project, we are going to take our background stamp, the Flower Frenzy. I'm going to need my stamping positioner for this, so we'll bring in our Misty. I'm going to put this, I guess we need to remove our mouse pad. And for this, we're just going to ink up some white cardstock. I'm going to treat we're going to do a little heat embossing. So I'm going to treat my paper with my anti-static powder. And then I'm going to go over my background stamp with my Versamarking pad. We'll go ahead and stamp this. And we'll stamp it one more time for good measure. These flowers, for the most part, have some pretty flat surfaces, so stamping twice is always nice. Okay, for this one we're going to go over our panel with white embossing powder. I'm going to go ahead and melt and trim down our panel. Okay, I went ahead and melted that embossing powder and I trimmed down my panel. So my panel measures 3 1/4 inches wide by 4 1/2 inches tall. I'm going to bring in my blending mat here. And if you guys are curious about my blending mat, this is a Ranger silicone blending mat. It's not too expensive, but it's actually larger. I actually trimmed this and I trimmed it into quarters. So this is 1/4 of the Ranger mat. This is not the size it comes in. I just trimmed it down so it's easier for me to work with for my videos. But I'll list it below if you guys are interested in it. But there's my panel. Now we're going to do a little bit of ink blending for our background. I'm going to start with Mowed Lawn. And we're going to basically use the same colors that we used for our stenciling. Just going to add some green to the top. I have adhesive on the back. Maybe I should remove that. That's the nice thing about this tape runner is, you can easily remove the adhesive. Okay, better. So we have mowed lawn on top. And then our next color will be our ripe persimmon. Let's go ahead and bring in the blending brushes. Next color is ripe persimmon, and we're going to go down the middle with this. And again, since this is an orange with the green, you kind of don't want it to overlap. I'm not too concerned about it overlapping on my picked raspberry, but the green, you kind of don't want it to overlap because it can get muddy. Okay, so we have green and orange, and then my final color will be picked raspberry. I'm not going to add blue to this panel. We'll go over the bottom. Okay. Such bright summery colors. Once we have our background ink blended, we can take a towel and buff away that color from our embossed area. Just love how bright and vivid it pops out. Okay. And then our background is done. Now for this I wanted to use, I went through my older dies and I found some of these mini interactive envelopes. I thought these were so cute. These are from Simon, and you can create, wouldn't it be fun to create a little itty bitty mini card? Oh my gosh, how fun is that? We're not going to do that today, but I do want to do a little bit of die cutting. So let's grab some cardstock. And again, these are the mini interactive envelopes. These have been around for a while. Okay, I'm going to die cut out 2 of my envelopes with white cardstock. And then for my insert, I'm going to die cut out 1 with orange, and then 1 with pink. And then this actually comes with a heart, but I lost it. I don't know what I did with it. I haven't even found it to put in my lost and found pile. So I'm going to bring in a heart from Lawn Fawn's hearts dies. I think that's a good size. And I'll die cut out a green heart and also a orange heart. So let's make some little envelopes real fast. Okay, there is score lines on these little mini envelopes, and they're super easy to put together. Basically, you're just going to fold in all of the score marks, and you can reinforce those score lines. And since this is littler, I do suggest a lighter weight cardstock. Fold those corners over. I'm not going to close my envelope. I'm not worried about that top, but I am going to reinforce the sides. So easy to put our little envelopes together. I'm going to add a little bit of glue. And you do that to these bottom flaps. And you just hold those down. I'm going to use my tweezers to hold those down. And then we do the same thing to this envelope. But wouldn't that be so cute to make a little card? I mean, how little can we make our cards? That would be a challenge for sure. Okay, let's help keep those closed. I'm going to fold over our little card bases and reinforce these score lines. Our little envelopes. While the glue's drying on my envelopes, what I'm going to do is go ahead and take our panel, and I'm going to use some white twine. I'm going to wrap it around the bottom. I'm going to go about 3 times and then tie a bow off to the left. Space out our twine so it's somewhat even a little bit. And I think that looks good. I am going to trim a little bit more. I'm going to flip this over and we're going to add some foam adhesive behind here. After I remove the release paper, we'll go ahead and add this to an A2 size card front, and we'll just center it. Love these bright colors. And our envelope should be dry, so I'm just going to remove my tweezers, and we'll add our... You could decorate these little cards if you wanted to also, but I'm just going to leave them blank. I got a little glue on my envelope I'm going to remove with my sand eraser here. Okay. I'm going to flip over my envelopes, and then we're going to add some foam adhesive behind these. And then I kind of want them crisscrossed, kind of going tucked underneath. I'm going to take my glue and add a little dot in the center of the envelope. And I'm adding it to the envelope. I don't want to make sure that it's obstructing my card, in case I did want to write something in it. But we'll just pick up our hearts. I'm going to put the orange heart on the pink card, and I'll put the green heart on the orange card. For my sentiment, we are going to be using some reverse Simon's Stamp reverse sentiment strips. This is the encouragement pack. I love this one. In fact, we're going to be using a sentiment in here that says hugs from afar. I think that's going to go cute with the letters. And I just trimmed one out. I'm going to go ahead and angle it off to the left. I'm going to flip this around, and we're going to add a thin strip of foam adhesive. And I'm going to add this to the bottom, kind of overlapping on the edge here. Okay, after we have this, our sentiment adhered, and we're going to do a little bit of embellishing. I'm going to take my glossy accents, and I'm going to go over the hearts, just adding a little bit of glaze. Do the same thing to the green heart. And then I'm going to take my other card, and we're almost just about done. I'm going to take some Nuvo Crystal Drops. This is Ivory Seashell, and I'm going to add some dimension over some of the flowers in my background here. I'm just going to add dots, pearly dots to them wherever I see a flower. And then those will finish my projects today for the Simon's Stamp Blog Hop celebrating the happy and joyful release. This is day 2 again of the Blog Hop, and I hope you can join us. I encourage you guys to head on over. Have a great day. Thanks for joining me. We will see you soon. Bye-bye.